Welcome everyone. So we've been spending some time these last few weeks reviewing different types of rhythms, and now I want to address the numbers that you may have seen in music that kind of look like fractions, that are not fractions at all. What I'm talking about are time signatures, and it's really important information for us as we move forward in our quest to know more about music. The definition that I use here is that a time signature is a musical symbol that is used to indicate the meter or rhythmic pulse of a song. Let's take a look at each number. The top number tells us how many, as in how many beats are there in a measure. In this example, it is 2 beats in a measure because we see the number 2 at the top. The bottom number does not tell us how many of anything. It actually tells us what kind. In this example, the number 4 is representative of a quarter note. It's telling us that a quarter note equals 1 beat. Now, you would probably be wondering then, why do we have to share that information if we know that quarter notes are already 1 beat long? Because there's an exception to the rule. Quarter notes aren't always going to be 1 beat long. In fact, they can be 2 beats long, they could be half a beat long, and it is all dependent on that number at the bottom. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Let's just keep it simple. So that 4 is telling us that the quarter note equals 1 beat. So a very simple explanation then is, if I ever asked you, what is the time signature? You could just tell me, this time signature tells us that we're going to have 2 beats of quarter notes in every measure. Or you could say 2 quarter note beats per measure. Here are 2 more examples of time signatures. The 3/4 time signature is going to tell us there are 3 quarter note beats per measure, and the 4/4 time signature is going to tell us that there are 4 quarter note beats in every measure. So we're taking a look at a rhythm exercise that I wrote out in 2/4 time signature. Again, it's telling us that there are 2 beats per measure. Just to go over really quick, a measure is basically the space between bar lines. So right now I bracketed the first measure. If you count on, there are a total of 4 measures in this exercise. Now what I want you to do is count with me the beats per measure. You're going to see hearts appear. Count with the hearts. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And so this is showing us there are 2 beats per measure. Now, are those hearts always going to be filled with quarter notes? No, because that would be basically keeping the beat, and that would be a very boring rhythm to listen to. So what can we fill in those beats? Well, pretty much anything that's going to be the same length as a quarter note. For instance, the 8th note will also, 2 8th notes I should say, will also fit into the beat. So we can fit the TT rhythm into the beat. We can also fit the ticka-ticka rhythm into that beat as well. At the end of the exercise, you'll see a half note, and that's basically takes up the same space as 2 quarter notes. So that fits as well. Do you remember at the very beginning, I defined what a time signature was? I wrote that it was a musical symbol used to indicate the meter or the rhythmic pulse of a song. Do you see the words meter and rhythmic pulse that's typed in bold? What does meter mean? In order for us to understand meter, you also have to understand that in most music, you can feel the strong beat and the weak beat. Now take a look. I've written out how we might count in different meters. So the first meter, we have a strong, weak, strong, weak. So the 1 is always going to be considered the strong beat in music. That means the first beat of every measure should feel stronger than the others. So the top line we counted as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is what we call duple meter. The next one is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, still with the emphasis on beat 1, and you guessed it, we call that triple meter. And then finally, we have quadruple meter, which will be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the distinction between the very top meter, the duple meter, and the very bottom meter, the quadruple meter, is sometimes blurry. Sometimes people can't really tell if a song is in duple or quadruple meter unless they're reading the music or that the performer is really bringing out the 1 beat and is making it very obvious that it's in duple meter or quadruple meter. Let me give you an example of a song that it could be duple or quadruple meter, but I think you can kind of figure out which of the two it is because of the way it sounds. Okay, if I'm listening to that, I'm going to hear 1, 2, 1, 2, or I'm going to hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you listen very carefully, there is an emphasis, and it almost, this song sounds like a march. Let's listen. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Now, if you're not convinced that it isn't duple meter, that's when we would have to go back to the music. And if we take a look at the music of this piece, it's called Semper Fidelis, and it's written by Jean-Philippe Sousa. It is, in fact, written in duple meter. So I think you get what I mean. At this time, I want you to use this slide to kind of help you determine some of these music examples I'm going to play for you, to determine what meter you're hearing the music in. And I'll make it really obvious for you, okay? Can you identify the meter of this? I hear a very strong beat 1. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I heard that in 3, and so we would say that this piece is in triple meter. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to play it for you one more time and see if you hear it. Beautiful song. Let me try one more and see if you can figure this one out. Okay, in this particular one, you do recognize it as Twinkle Twinkle. This is actually the Twinkle Twinkle Variations by Mozart. If you listen very carefully, you'll hear 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I checked my sources and I took a look at the music, and indeed it was written in duple meter. Now I'm going to play you a piece that was written in 4/4 time. Let's listen closely. Do you all hear it in 4? Now we're going to use what we learned and apply it to Lavender's Blue. So please join me in singing the song. Can you tell what the meter could be for Lavender's Blue? Let's see if we can discover what the time signature is that we're going to use to reflect the meter of this piece. Let's sing the song again. Now, remembering that meter is a repeated pattern of accented or strong beats, I want you to discover with me the meter of this song. Now, anytime you feel the strong beat in the music, you're going to move your we're going to clap, first of all. Anytime you feel the strong beat in the music, I want you to tap your legs. And I also need you to notice that the strong beats are going to happen at regular intervals. If this song was written correctly, it should have a meter to it. And we should be able to find it rather quickly. So once again, if you feel the strong beat, I want you to place that into your lap and then clap the other beats that aren't as strong. Let's begin. So we'll start with a clap. Ready, sing. Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When I am king, dilly dilly, you shall be queen. Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When I am king, dilly dilly, you shall be queen. Count that with me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It sounds like we're in triple meter, and we will assign to it the 3/4 time signature. So that's kind of how meter works, and I hope that this part of the lesson made it really clear what meter does for us and how we use time signatures to show the meter of a song. Thank you for joining me again this week, and have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody.